everyone. I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. Every week, photographers from all over the country meet here to connect, inspire, and create. The schedule for upcoming presentations is on my website at lindanickell.com, as well as the links to previous sessions on the Happiness Hour YouTube channel. If you'd like to join us live, you can access the meeting under the Happiness Hour tab. Every week, guests share their tips and techniques, insight into their creative journeys, and they inspire us to try something new. Tonight's guest is Cathy Alice Kuhlman. Cathy is a nature photographer based in Pennsylvania. She's a Click Pro elite photographer whose work ranges from landscapes to cityscapes, but her love of flowers introduced her to the unique line of Lensbaby products. As a Lensbaby Ambassador, Cathy will share some of her favorite lenses and tips that will help you amp up your creativity. In tonight's presentation, Embrace the Blur. Cathy will show you a glimpse into the world of Lensbaby and share with you some of the ways to take your photography from the ordinary to the extraordinary. She will give you examples of how to use these selective focus products to better tell your stories, to set your work apart from others, and how to spend less time in front of your computer editing and more time behind the lens being creative. If you're on Instagram, you can find her at Cathy Alice Photography, and you can connect with her through her website, Linktree/Cathy Alice Photography. Welcome to the Happiness Hour, Cathy.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Linda. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for saying yes. It was one of these things that I didn't know you, but I knew somebody that knew you, and that is the beauty of photography. The world gets really small through photography, or at least I found. And as photographers, I want to say this, a good portion of the people in this room have been presenters for me. They've been guests because they like to share. And that's the beauty of this whole program. And so thank you for letting me yank you out of your routine on a Wednesday night in Pennsylvania and joining us here. So I kind of glazed over maybe your bio. If there's something I missed, please feel free to fill in the gaps. And but other than that, I'm going to turn over the program to you.
Okay. Basically, the bio is the bio. I'm going to say a self-taught photographer. I have no formal training in this. I picked up a camera seriously while I was trying to scrapbook my son's lives as they were growing up. And the more I scrapbooked, the more I wanted better pictures. And a scrapbook store here was doing demonstrations while one of the girls that did a demonstration liked to do better pictures. So part of her demonstration became a half an hour of class teaching composition for your pictures. And then that snowballed into an online class, which I took. And I was hooked. So a lot of online classes, one class at a local community college, and a lot of hours outside. And here I am. So I became a Lensbaby Ambassador, I think about a year and a half ago. I had kind of already fallen in love with Lensbaby because of another class I took. And when it's something you're doing all the time, it's not hard to want to share it. So when they put out a call for ambassadors, I applied and got accepted. So it was, it was a nice thing. It's a nice little pat on the back, and I still enjoy it. And for as long as I enjoy it, I'll keep doing it.
Well, that's all they can ask for. So, and I'll speak on behalf of this group. It's like, thank you for coming and sharing what you've learned, and maybe inspiring us to learn a little bit more.
So, well, I'll do my best today to try to help you get started down that path but I will tell you that I don't think anybody's paths are the same. Lensbaby products are not created for you to be able to copy specifically what somebody else is doing. I can show you what lenses and optics and the wands and all the fun things do, but it's up to you how you want to use them based on your style of photography. And my style changes frequently because they bring out something new and I try it and I fall in love. So now I'm all about that. And something sits in a drawer for a little while until it's time to pull it back out because I miss it. So it can be a little addicting at times. So
I think that's I think anybody in this room can say that about their photography, whether it's wildlife, and you guys know who I'm referring to in this room, or macro. So, but it's another tool. So, I think that, I mean, show us the toys.
all right. So would you like me to get started? I'll share my screen here.
Sounds great.
Okay. So, I'm going to get started. When, I started putting this, PowerPoint together, I wanted to do it from the perspective of somebody who has dabbled a little bit with Lensbaby. I want to show you that it spans the genres of photography: portrait, nature, landscape, street, documentary, fashion, still life, architecture, weddings. What got me was a girl who does sports. Manually focusing on a hockey game or on a baseball game is really challenging. But she does it. And I'm going to show you a little bit of her work here tonight. So let me give you a little bit of a background about Lensbaby. The company has been around for about not quite 20 years. Their motto is shoot extraordinary, which is part of what's in the write-up of this. You know, I'm going to take you from the ordinary to the extraordinary. One of the things that really hit home, I was doing a little bit of digging on the website and I found their mission statement, which reads, Lensbaby is the enemy of perfection, an ally of the unusual, and an advocate for the unique. I love that my pictures don't look like anybody else's. They might look similar, but they change. And even if I wanted to recreate a picture I just took, it might be extremely difficult to do that. All Lensbaby lenses are manual focus. You also have to know the exposure triangle because it's all manual settings. Your cameras will not record the f-stop for your EXIF data. I sort of know about the range by looking at the picture. I also know I tend to shoot around f4, one stop above, one stop below, maybe. I don't tend to vary too much unless I'm on vacation with my husband and he wants a landscape and he wants to see it all, then I have to shoot at f16 for a few pictures. Then I go back to shooting my wet. When you're using Lensbaby products, you will control the amount of the effect using the f-stop in your camera. Your camera will still be able to control the exposure using your shutter speed and your ISO. That data still comes through in the EXIF file. Most lenses created today, the aperture is controlled on the lens or on the optic. There is some old products out there where you're controlling the aperture by dropping discs in. That's a lens I first started with and the one that sat in the drawer the absolute longest. You can shoot video with a Lensbaby. If when you're done this tonight and you still have more questions, you can reach out to me. But I will tell you that there's also a ton of information on the Lensbaby website. And if you go to YouTube and search the Shoot Extraordinary Conference, you will find video after video of ambassadors who have presented before. They save all of that on there. It's a great resource. I even search it out from time to time. So I asked a few friends and people that I know what drew them to Lensbaby and why they stayed with it. These are a few that really kind of hit the spot for me. The fact that Lensbaby lenses are manual, they make you slow down and be more creative with your shots. The end results, in my opinion, are much more rewarding because you put your heart and your soul into it. It wasn't just an equation. They weren't looking for everything in focus. They were looking to tell a story. And this quote comes up frequently: photographs things for what they are and also for what else they are. Lensbaby lenses allow me to capture the emotion of an image, not just the straightforward of what it looks like. If I want to capture that, my iPhone works. When I want to show what it feels like, I'll use a Lensbaby. We don't need to read through all of these. There's just a couple that I really like. I love the way I can be more creative at the moment of capturing images and achieving results that aren't possible with mainstream lenses. I've never liked doing a lot of editing, and Lensbabies make the actual photography part more organic and more authentic to me. They are so much fun. That part about not doing a lot of editing, I have to tell you, I do very, very little editing. I might do a little sharpening, and I will clone out dust spots because I love reverse free lensing, so my sensor is forever dirty. I might tweak with the color balance a little bit, but after that, I'm done. I do very little editing, and it gets me right back outside. So Lensbaby has, I'm going to tell you, basically 3 lines of products. The first are standalone lenses, and they have one called the Twist 60. The Burnside 35 that I have listed here is now officially been discontinued. You can still find them in a few places. B&H had them for a little while. Adorama did. I'm sure that if you're looking for them used, you can pick them up. The Velvet series, they have a 28, a 56, and an 85. There is a Sol 22 that's designed exclusively for micro 4/3 cameras. I don't own one. I can't really tell you a lot about it. I'm going to assume that it's similar to the Sol 45. Now, the Sol 45 is slightly different than the other lenses in that it is a tilt shift lens, but it is also limited to an aperture of 3.5. A lot of people love that for a starter lens for somebody who is just getting into photography. It's also the least expensive of the standalone lenses. And if it's something that you're considering, I believe that this week it is 20% off. And if you use my ambassador discount, it'll get you another 10. So it makes it really nice price point for a starter lens, especially if you don't think this is something you're going to like. It's also a little bit limiting because of that 3.5 aperture. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. 2 more standalone lenses. One is the Obscura. I have this as an optic. I've yet to make friends with it, to be perfectly honest with you. If we're talking f-stops, 32, 64, and 161, you need a lot of light to work with these. And I don't have the patience for it, to be perfectly honest with you. The third is a Trio. It is a 28 millimeter lens, but you have the option of doing the Velvet, the Twist, and the Sweet. That one only works for mirrorless cameras. That one is next on my wish list. So a little bit about each of these lenses now. The Velvet 56 is the first Lensbaby that I fell in love with. It is a single contained lens. It is not a true 1-to-1 macro. It is 1-to-2. Still allows you to get close enough to do macro or close-up work. If you add extension tubes or macro filters on the front, you can get pretty close to that 1-to-1. F-stops from 1.6 to f16. This is where the versatility of Lensbaby lenses come in. Once you get past f8, you are basically dealing with a typical lens. You have very little effect with the whatever effect that particular lens is going to give you. You don't see it much past f8. Minimum distance focusing distance is 5 inches, but again, if you add extension tubes, you can get in a little closer. It is able to focus to infinity, and like all Lensbaby lenses, it's manual focus. So I'm just going to go through a few pictures that I have taken with each lens. Again, this is just me. If you are on social media, especially if you are on Facebook, look for Lensbaby Unplugged. That is a Lensbaby run site. You can do hashtag the name of lens that you're interested in and see what pictures come up. You are going to see many different people, ambassadors or just lovers of Lensbaby, will post their things on there. They'll post the hashtags, and you can get a good idea of what people love. Flowers and macro is my first love, but I also enjoy doing a few other things. So here you go, a little bit of a landscape. Again, this is probably, I'm probably more wide open here because there's definitely a lot more than an f4 in focus on that lens. And this one, I am probably at f16. I have a nice fall landscape scene. These are the pictures that make my husband happy, not necessarily me, but have to do it for somebody. And here's a landscape where I was probably shooting at f4 because I have like 2 or 3 flowers, you know, a couple in the very, you know, front of the foreground there, but the rest of it just falls off to a soft velvety glow. With these lenses, you can use neutral density filters, do long exposures, just like any other typical lens. So the Velvet 28 came out a while after I had bought the Velvet 56. It's a really nice landscape lens. Again, it gets you all the way to f22 so that if you want everything in focus. One of the really cool things about this lens is it has a 2-inch minimum focusing distance. So if you're looking for that macro effect, you're going to get it with this lens, but sort of at a wider angle than the 56. So I bought this specifically to do landscapes because I wanted a wider angle. Just skip through a few of these. Again, close down, you know, just a shot from Longwood Gardens. And then back to my love of macro and a flower. And I like bordering on almost nothing in focus. Sometimes I have just a little tiny slice, as you can see, just that very edge of that leaf, and the rest of it just falls off to blur. So I use Lensbaby a lot to push the abstract, but one lens can take me from abstract to close down and everything in focus, which is what I absolutely love about Lensbaby products. The Velvet 85 is my newest lens. I've had it probably for about 2 weeks. I haven't had a chance to shoot too much with it. The compression on this is slightly better than the 56, but that's typical with any lens as you get longer and longer. And similar statistics with this, it's still 1 to 2 for macro, 9.5-inch minimum focusing distance. But again, you can put macro filters on the end or use extension tubes, which I do. I tend not to use the macro filters. And create what you want. So I'll share a few that I've taken with this, but I have not been out to do any landscape. This was actually on a workshop that I did a little while ago with Valerie. And I have to give her credit for finding the bugs. So, and dahlias are my favorite flowers this time of year. And I was able to even do the refraction of a flower in a drop yesterday morning in the rain. So the Burnside, which is discontinued, but you can get, is a lens that I absolutely love. On, let me see if I can get my mouse here to work. I was going to try to annotate, but I can't get it to pop. Okay. But anyway, on the lens, you'll see the little gold square lever and then where it would slide. That allows you to add a vignette in camera to your picture. You also get a pretty cool swirl, much like the twist optic will put in the background. You know, kind of really make your background, you know, into a circular pattern, depending on how closed down or wide open you shoot. You know, it'll be stronger or weaker. So here are a few that I have shot with it. Again, like when you're looking at that, the drop, it tacks sharp focus with this. So yes, you know, people think soft focus and blur, but there is tack sharp in all of these lenses, especially in the middle. But I love the fact that I am emphasizing my subject and the rest of it is falling off. You know, it's just a very minor part of the story that I'm telling. Pushing it to abstract a little bit more here. Now, here is where I'm going to tell you, this is the same flower with and without using the slider on the side. So when I go to the next one, you're going to see where the vignette is around it and how it darkens it. So let me flip it back. And then again, so it's a fun lens. I actually like reverse free lensing with this lens a lot, just because of how incredibly sharp it is. So it really gets the details in what I'm looking for. I did night photography with it. I just try to put these lenses through their paces. One of the things that a lot of people will ask is what lens is good for what? And while I can sort of guide you to say, well, you know, if you're looking for street photography, I would start here. If you're looking for that, I would start here. There's very few that I would eliminate anything with. If you want to try it, try it. If it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, move on to something different. So the Lensbaby Sol 45, this is the one that I just mentioned a little bit ago. It has a fixed 3.5 aperture. The minimum focusing distance is 14 inches. It does have a tilt on it. It also has two little blades within the frame of the front of the lens that you can pinch in or pull out. That'll add a pretty cool texture to your background if you want to use that. Because this is a fixed aperture, I kind of resisted this because for me, it didn't give me the flexibility that I wanted. It didn't give me the option to shoot closed down so that I got in everything in focus kind of a picture. But when I was talking to a lot of my ambassador friends, I found out this is the lens that they were really recommending for people who were just starting out. So I ended up had to buy it and I had to see for myself. And I put this lens on my camera and I set my camera up to auto ISO and I set my camera to aperture priority. And all I did was shoot. And I was like, wow, this is so freeing. It was so amazing. I was still getting a blur. I was still telling a story, but the only thing that I had to worry about was manually focusing my lens. I think that if for somebody just starting out, this is a really good place to start, especially if you're not good with the exposure triangle and shooting in manual and, you know, just, you know, letting your camera autofocus. Like, learn one thing at a time, learn to autofocus your camera, and then you can work on shooting in manual and go towards the other lenses if that's your thing. So I explained a little bit about the what the blades do. If you look in the upper right and left-hand corners, you're going to see the oval blur where it's pulling out to the outside edges. When I engage the blades, that oval blur is no longer oval. It's got lines and waves and things in it. So let me go back. This is what it does. It pulls that bokeh into oval shapes, but now it changes it. And you can put them in, you can put them out, you can put one in, leave the other one out. They're two. They kind of like wiper blades in a way. So, and here we go. I was walking around the one park and, I got some pretty cool oval bokeh, which is a little bit different, but yet the center of my image is tech sharp. Again, I have to try it. I have to see what I can do with macro. So I put a 20 millimeter extension tube on and use the tilt shift part of it. So when I tilt it, I'm changing the plane of focus. And then, my angle to the subject will then pull that focus slightly away from center. And that's how I got the focus in the spot where it is. It's not dead center, it's off. So as much or as little in focus as you would like. So the next system is the optic swap system. The optic swap system consists basically of two parts. It consists of a housing and the optic that goes in it. The optic is like the glass of a regular lens. So right now, Lensbaby has three options for the typical photographer. There's the Composer Pro 2, the body. There is a Spark, the body, and there is a straight housing. The straight housing is typically used for the Twist 60 and the new Soft Focus 2, where tilting is not recommended. However, there's a bit of a caveat to that. And while they will sell you that, again, it's limiting. The better choice for me, and I think for a lot of people, is just to use the Composer Pro 2, and I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get there. There is also a mount for cinematic cameras, but the typical photographer is not interested in that. So we'll just skip on over that. So this is what a Composer Pro housing looks like. Between the front and the back section of that lens is a ball, and it swivels up, down, side to side angles. It moves it. The center of that is what holds the optic in. So this is the Spark. So the Spark is similar to the original design of a Lensbaby. In the middle, that piece looks like a vacuum hose. And when you shoot, you're actually squeezing that together. So you can go up, down, side to side. You can use this with any optic, even the ones that they recommend that you not, because these are going to shoot straight through. You're going to shoot straight through if you're not squeezing it. It's challenging. I haven't risen to that challenge yet. I might someday, but just haven't gotten there. This is what the straight body looks like. You're just going to pop the lens in, but you have no option to shift up, down, left, right. You can't change your plane of focus, so your focus is always going to be dead center. I like options, so I wouldn't go that way. These are just a few of the optics that are available, and we'll go over more of them. The one in the upper left-hand corner is the original double glass optic, and you can see inside it has a ring with 2.8. You had to manually change your aperture by adding or deleting rings. And it went all the way up to, I don't know, f16 or f22. I don't really remember. That was the first one that I tried. And at the time, I was still really learning all about what photography was about and learning to shoot in manual. That kind of put me over the edge. So it kind of sat in a drawer until I got to be a better photographer. And then I learned the Velvet 56. Then I got to be an ambassador, and then I got to beta test the new double glass optic, the double glass 2. The original one was the double glass. This is the double glass 2. And I have to tell you, I'm in love. And so much so that I went out one day and used both of them, tried to take the same pictures with each lens. And I got to tell you, I don't like changing the aperture this way. I'd rather do it on the actual optic itself, which I am now able to do. So if you're going to look, these are in white, all of the optics that you can buy from Lensbaby. There's a Sweet Series, an Edge, the Twist, the Obscura, the Soft Focus 2, the Double Glass 2, I believe the creative focus is still there. The ones in blue are discontinued, but you can find them, and sometimes very cheap. I've gotten 2 of these for $10 on eBay or someplace. They work perfectly fine, just nobody wanted them. I just wanted to try them. So I have the descriptions of what each of these lenses does on here. You can also find basically these same descriptions on the Lensbaby website if you want more information down the line. They each, to me, do something similar, but also do something different or something better. So, you know, the sweet will give you a sharp, sweet area focus surrounded by blur, similar in a way to a velvet. The Edge series gives you a slice of focus. So that slice can be vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and you can move that to a side, the top, the bottom, because when you are using the Composer Pro, you're able to move the housing that it's in, and you're going to change that plane of focus so that you're not having just a slice of focus down the middle. The Twist 60 gives you a twisty bokeh surrounding your subject. I don't have that optic yet. I do have a picture that a friend of mine shared with me, a portrait, that'll show you how that spins. The Soft Focus 2 is a newer optic. At its, it really creates an impressionistic image with sharp, subtle detail beneath. But I will tell you, I think I had the most fun with this with Christmas lights because it creates cool orbs of bokeh where the lights are. It was a lot of fun. I use it. It is not one of my more favorite optics to use, but it doesn't mean that it's not an effect that you won't like. I do not have the Creative Bokeh optic. However, the new Double Glass 2 optic has those shapes in it. So it's kind of the Double Glass 2 is kind of the best of a lot of worlds. We're going to get back to the Obscure, which is something that I've never fallen in love with. If you want to read more about that, go ahead on the website because I'm not really somebody who can help you with that one. So the Edge 80, I'll tell you a little bit about these. It's going to give you a slice of focus. I'm not really going to be able to tell you where it is there. I probably was more closed down in this, in which case you're not really going to have that slice. But here's one where you can see the slice of focus vertically right around the door and above in this picture. Here's a landscape. In my slice of focus, you know, I'm trying to draw your eye down the creek. That's the only thing in this picture that's not frozen. Again, just on the doors. I love old buildings and historical things, so this is a favorite part that's close by me. I also like that I can kind of do crazy things with these. So there is a slice of focus in there, but I combined it with one of my Omni filters to create a pretty cool abstract here. This stuff is not for everybody, but I like it. So this is where I want to tell you, you can create some really crazy things and you might love them, but somebody else doesn't, but it's your work. Do what you like. This again, I took this one the other day with the Edge 35. I was just trying to catch the tips of that like layer of ruffles of this Cafe au lait dahlia that I had. And I love the way the rest of that just falls off into blur. To me, this tells a better story than the whole flower in focus. I can go outside and look at that flower any way I want. This is the way I want to remember it. So I also love using this Edge 35 for street photography. I enjoy street photography a lot. It's something that I have started doing more and more. So this optic for me works very well in a couple of different ways. I just showed you it with macro and flowers. Now I'm going to show you walking around on the street. So you can do f3.5 to f22. So again, you have the benefit of a lot of blur or no blur in this. You can get as close as 7 inches. It's manual focus. It will house in the Composer Pro. And you can, when it's in the housing, you can go up, down, left, right, or at any angle that you want. And you can push it a little bit or you can push it a lot. So I use it inside. I help a friend teach a photography summer camp. And we were in a classroom, and that was my niece in the middle. I took her to class with me and tried to get her hooked. But again, I have everybody blurred out. She was my subject that day. That's what I want to remember. I don't need to remember the other kids in the room or the instructors in the room. I wanted to remember her. So I was able to open way up. I was probably at f3.5 here. But again, I'm telling my story. Just a little building. Memorial Day is a really big holiday around here. And I don't want to say celebrate it, but we honor it every year. My husband and my boys were all scouts, so we did 4 different ceremonies every Memorial Day. We would come home from vacation to do these. And we started at Brandywine Battlefield, which is one big battlefield for Washington and his men. And these grave markers date back to the 1800s. When the ceremony's done, all the children that are there, the scouts, they put flowers on the graves. And I just love that this mother was starting with her children, much like we started with ours. So that was the story I wanted to tell. I don't have these pictures from when my kids were little, but this means almost just as much to me because I love that the tradition continues. A little bit of street photography in the train station down in DC, I believe. And I was there with the camera club, and we were getting ready to do a group picture, and one of our camera club members was getting ready to set up his camera for it. So I thought I'd capture him doing that. And then out on the mall, again, you know, not a ton of stuff in focus, but when you're walking towards this and you have the sun in your eyes, like to me, this is exactly what I saw that day. This is my memory, and this works for me. To give you a little bit of an idea about how the lines of focus work, if you can see on a couple inches down from the top or a little bit, you know, maybe a quarter of the way down on your screens, there's a horizontal line of focus from left to right. Starts at the bottom of the windows on the left and kind of goes through the plant. My next image, you're going to see what's underneath of this plant. So there's a horizontal line across the bottom of that. So now I have the bench and a little bit of the flowers on the right in focus, but the plant's just dark and out of focus at the top. So you can change your story by changing your focus. The soft focus too is kind of like a velvet on steroids. You get a lot of glow with this. Again, f2.5 to f22. You can use it in any housing. It's not recommended to tilt. It's sold as an optic in the straight body or just the optic alone. If this is an optic that you want, my recommendation is to buy the optic alone and buy the Composer Pro 2 so that you have the option of, if you add optics to your kit, then you can use the Composer Pro 2 to tilt. If you're going to use this in the Composer Pro 2, you can tighten this straight or you can try to tilt it. I know people who do. They don't recommend it. Sometimes you get a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? You get a bit of a vignette around it. Maybe don't push it so far, or deal with the vignette in post-processing if that's what you want to do. I see the purpose of the straight optic. I just don't think that financially it's as wise a decision. It's probably less expensive to get started with, but if you go with the Composer Pro 2, you're going to allow yourself more flexibility later. This also includes drop-in aperture discs to change the size of the bokeh. You don't have to use them at all. It just, again, is going to give you a different effect in your picture. So here it is. I just use it outside, no bokeh discs, just, kind of a soft, gentle image. This is a comparison with no bokeh. So I just have, or no discs, excuse me. I just have soft blur in the background. Or this is the medium disc. There are 3 discs and they basically have like Swiss cheese holes in them. And there's one with very small holes and a lot of them. There's medium holes and not as many. And then there's larger holes, which means there's less holes. So just a comparison, this is the medium disc, which is going to give you some bokeh in the background. You decide what you like if you pick something like this. What effect do you like? And that's the one you go with. Or you just go with glow. Like they said, like kind of velvet on steroids. I'm telling a story here. Like, this is not a usual picture for me, but this totally works. I had just the right lighting on the corner of this box of abandoned bricks at a tree farm. These were all just shoved over on the side, and I just tried it. A little bit of an abstract, a little bit odd, but that's okay because I do this for me. I don't do it for other people. As you can see with a lot of these, there is a bit of a glow to all of these images. That's part of what this optic will give you. So I'm moving on now to the suite series here. I only have one suite and it is the 35. So as you can see what this does to the bokeh around the edges of this, it's still going to give you that sharp center of focus. If that's where you're pointing your composer, and the rest of it, it's going to pull and give you some cool blur on the sides. I haven't used this lens in a long time, and one of my ambassador friends challenged me to do it. And I was on a workshop in Maryland a couple weekends ago, so I tried it on these flowers. So, the center of the flowers are in focus, but it just pulls the rest of them off. Gives it a really unique sense of movement. I have to try it with macro. I have to try everything with macro. So I love I just love the bokeh that I get with that. So this is the newest optic from Lensbaby. It is the double glass 2, and I talked about that a little bit earlier. This optic is sitting inside my Composer Pro 2 right now. This optic is a combination of basically 3 optics. The original double glass optic, which used to be plastic, but now is metal. The creative bokeh disc optics, because you can drop discs in there with all different shapes, birds, hearts, stars. I'd have to look. I haven't pulled it out for a while. I call it a snowflake. They don't call it a snowflake. There's hearts, swirls. There's all kinds of good things. You can stack the discs in there to get some very unique effects, things that other people wouldn't do. You're going to use this in the Composer Pro 2. You're going to shift and tilt. And I have a lot of fun with this one, I have to say. One of the advantages I like about the Composer Pro system is I'm going to take one housing and I can take 3 or 4 optics and have the same amount of weight in my bag as one lens. So as I've gotten older and the back is going and the shoulders are going, this has given me the option to take more than one lens, quote unquote, out when I go out. I take my camera, I take my Composer Pro 2. I have one optic in it and I might have two in my bag and I'm good to go. I can play around and have fun and I'm not carrying a ton of weight. So this is really fun. I got this optic to beta test last year right before Thanksgiving and I went to a pumpkin carve. So it was pitch dark. It was too crowded to use my tripod. So I was trying to do my best, probably shooting at a very high ISO, trying to keep, my camera away from too much camera shake, but just a little bit of fun. This was a trip that I did with my camera club. I met Attila at this trip. So you don't have to use the aperture discs. You get some really great blur with this, and especially with this, if you're tilting the Composer Pro 2. I absolutely adore what it does. This is not for probably most people. This is the bird's disc, and if you really look at the white highlights, you can see like the little V that a bird would make. This created a really cool abstract effect for me, and I was trying to get it focused when I saw this. I said, hey, that's kind of cool. A little bit of a painterly look, and again, not for everybody. But I've seen this used in macro and had no idea that this was the disc that was creating the texture. You can do so many fun things. I'm only showing you a very small part of what can happen when you get these things in your hands. Magic happens. So this again is that double glass. As you'll see by the, looking at the eyes and the little antenna on my butterflies, I have tack sharp focus, but look how it pulls the end of the butterfly wings. It gives it such a cool blur. I mean, it looks like that butterfly is moving and still at the same time. I just love it. So again, something a little bit more abstract with one of the star discs. They may call it something else. We kind of all make up our own names as we go along with these things. But this was at Longwood last Christmas, just to give you an idea. They look like little stars until you get to the very bottom. Now it looks like paint splats. And actually, I think that might be what they call this disc. Or there is one like that. I can't remember. This is one of two tries that I took out with the Obscura. You saw a similar image to this earlier that I did with the Velva 56. That's what I pulled out when this one didn't work out so well for me. You needed a ton of light, and this was at f64. I won't discourage you. I'm just going to tell you that there's a learning curve, a big learning curve with this one. So now for the portrait and sports enthusiasts. My friend Melissa, who is at Skadee, Skahdee on social media, was very kind to let me borrow a few of her pictures to show you what she has done. The first one is with the Twist 60. So you can see her background, how that looks like it is just pulling that bokeh in a complete circle. This is another one that's next on my list to get. I think it's fun, but that might mean I have to do portrait photography, and I'm not sure I want to go there yet. And here are just a few images she did of her son playing sports. So I'm thinking that she probably pre-focused kind of in front and kind of waited for him to get to a certain spot or was close and tweaked it. And for a lot of these, we're going to go with acceptably sharp and maybe not quite tack sharp. So I'll just flip through a couple of these, but I think she did a great job with these. This one I think may have been an edge because I'm actually seeing a bit of a diagonal line of focus with this one. And there she is. Now, the batter's in focus, the baseball, not quite, but it's definitely enough that you can tell what it is. You have enough of a reference to know that he's getting ready to hit the ball. And there it is, the ball a couple seconds later being hit. So you may find Lensbaby lenses have a learning curve. Case in point, we don't all get it right the first time. If you're going to try Lensbaby, give yourself some grace. I think this might have been one of my times out with the soft focus too, or it was the obscura, I'm not sure, but I didn't get it right. It's okay. We all have them. We all have those with our regular lenses. Forgive yourself. Try again. So, the third kind of group of products that Lensbaby has is the Omni Creative Filter System. These are a series of crystals, gels, and other objects, because they are continually adding to them, that you can use by hand holding them in front of your lens or attaching them to the front of your lens. And they really add some very cool effects to your pictures. The wands have a magnetic ball in the middle that allow you to attach them to the rings, and I have pictures I'll show you. The neat thing about these wands is the use of them strongly depends on your light source. If you have a very strong, bright sunlight source coming in, your effect is most likely going to be stronger, brighter, deeper. If it's softer or not direct, it's going to be a little bit more subtle. And you can create that by how you move around your subject and where you put your light source. If you are moving around and you see something you think you like, take the picture. Because if you move on and try to come back, most likely you're not going to get that wand at the exact same angle with the light coming in at the exact same angle to create that same effect. Take the picture. You can always delete it later. You can use multiple wands at once. I was resistant to this in the very beginning because I liked hand holding my wands. But like any good ambassador, I have to try it. People are saying, can you do it? And if I have to say yes or no, I have to try it. It's actually kind of fun. And you can put them on there and then you can sit there and hold your camera and tweak, and then take your picture. It worked for me. I don't know that I'll do it all the time, but it definitely works. So this is a little bit about what they look like. The outside of this is a ring, and then it holds, I don't have a picture of just the yoke, but on the ring it's a little yoke. There's two ends that the wands connect to, but those yokes can move anywhere around that ring that you want them. You can shoot with 4 of these on your lenses if you want, if you have 4 yokes, or if you want to put 2 on each yoke. There's also arms that you can get, and I don't think I have a picture of one of them here, but so that you can extend these wands and other parts further from the lens if that works for you. So what these things do is they add light, bokeh, color, flare, refraction. You are limited only by your imagination here. Okay. They attach magnetically. The magnets are strong. I have yet to have one fall off or even feel like I'm going to have one fall off. These rings come in 2 sizes right now. There's a small ring for any lens that is 49 to 58 millimeters. And then you can get step rings with them. And then the large fits anything from 62 to 82. It's technically a 77 millimeter ring. You would need step rings to take you up or down. Right now, these are the packs of Omnis that Lensbaby sells. There's a basic pack where you'll get a ring and a couple of yolks, and then you're going to get the stretch glass wand, the seahorse wand, and the rainbow film. There's a crystal expansion pack, which gives you a couple different crystals. There's a color expansion pack where you're going to get gels and iridescent films. There's a melon wand in there that gives some pretty cool effects, and I'm going to give you some examples of these. One of the newer things are the universal expansion packs, which are actually like plastic plates and all kinds of things. And there are special attachments that help them attach to that ring, or you can hand hold them if you want. There's a deluxe packs where you can get it all in one. There's also an adapter now that you can use to put these on the outside of the Composer Pro 2. I don't have that one yet. I don't have any experience with it. These can be used on any lens. It does not have to be a Lensbaby lens. If you are going to use these on a regular lens, I would recommend it. You're trying to shoot these more wide open, because the idea is to get, the blur. You don't want to see what you're putting in front of your camera. And if you're shooting at f/16, where basically everything's in focus, you're going to see the wand or the crystal or whatever you're putting in front of your lens. So you're going to have to open up some for these to work with other lenses. I did try to use one of these with my 150 to 600 that's 5.6. Just trying to shoot birds out the window and trying to do it. It didn't work so well for me. That doesn't mean it can't be done. I didn't have a lot of patience with it. I just kind of moved on. So case in point, this was with my Nikon 105. There's a triangle prism. There are a group of these Omnis that have been discontinued as well. The triangle prism might be one of them, but it just added some cool light into here. Kind of took a very minimal composition and added just a little bit more interest to it. There's a spear, and again, this one might be a little older. It could be in one of the packs. I'm not exactly sure anymore. I lose track after that, but they add some cool bokeh and some blur. Or in this case, like up at the top, I got a bit of a light leak. Like it just added a bunch of white light to it. The scallop can create a light leak effect, or you can get reflections. So I have gotten reflections with almost all of the crystals that I have used, and even some of the films that I have used, I have gotten some reflections, and they can give you some really cool things. They can even displace part of your subject. So the stretch wand can give you a reflection, or it can stretch the colors in your image. This is one of the mirrored ones. I now have the sky looking like a pond in front of this building. There's no pond, that's all grass, but what you see is sky. The right side of this building, there's a modern day garage behind there, and I didn't like the modern day garage. So I took what was on the left side of the frame and put it on the right. I did it in camera. No post-processing required. This was one of my favorite images, because when we got to try one of the new series of Universal Omnis, I got the coolest bokeh in this. If you look down at the bottom corner, some of this, I mean, it looks like a stack of coins. Like it is just bokeh after bokeh after bokeh, like circles and lines. I thought it was pretty cool. This is an image where I used two Omnis, one on the left, one on the right. So it gave a layering effect here. I have an effect like I'm shooting through before my dahlia and behind my dahlia. I had a kind of a boring sky, so I added an Omni to it and got some pretty cool bokeh. This is where I displaced my tree. A lot of people don't like it. It's one of my favorite images. It's so abstract, but with a very definite hint of reality to it. It was not white that day. I overexposed some to get what I wanted. So you can use Omnis with your cell phones. We have this thing when my husband and I go out, I have to leave my camera at home, but I tend to sneak Omni wands in my pocketbook because then I've got my cell phone. And if I see something, I can have a little bit of fun for a few minutes. So this is case in point, not the best composition. I was trying not to get the bridge in the front, but had I avoided that bridge, obviously it would have been a better picture. But again, this is with a cell phone, like that looks like a double exposure. Yet I did it with my cell phone and it took me all of 3 seconds. You can get repeating patterns like this with some of the crystals. And depending on the time of day, sunrise, sunset, your colors can be stronger, more muted. They can lean towards cooler or warmer. Floating around is also something called an LM10. Lensbaby used to make lenses for cell phones before cell phones started changing yearly. They couldn't adapt to change with the constant changes in the models of all of the phones. I found this and I free lens with it. I just hold this up to my camera lens in the back. So I took this to a class I did, and I think this was like the hit of the party that day. People were running around taking pictures of the flowers, and it's a pretty cool macro. And this was before Apple had macro lenses. So again, just another close-up one that I was having a little bit of fun with. To show you a little bit about what I see when I am looking through it. This was one I did with my Burnside. This is a video. Oh, let me see if I can't get that to play. There we go. So everything is out of focus. With these lenses, you move. If you're looking especially to do macro, you're going to extend it the lens all the way out like you typically would. Then you move your feet to get the composition that you want. And that's what I was doing here. Like I saw this little skipper on top of the whatever flower this is, my cone flower. And I was back and I moved forward. So let me just play that for you again. So I'm trying to kind of creep up on this little skipper before I take the picture. And then now, obviously, that's just the end of the video. I did actually take a picture of it later. So a couple of little fun facts about Lensbaby. It is used for movies and things that you see on television. My husband and I were watching Manifest on Netflix, and we got to series 2, and there's something on series 2. There's a part in there where they talk about the callings. And I kept saying to my husband, that looks like a Lensbaby. There's got to be a Lensbaby. There's got to be a Lensbaby. And I emailed my contact at Lensbaby and said, did you guys film Manifest or did you use it? And she says, I'm not exactly sure. So then I did some digging online and I found out, yes, indeed, it was used and it was used for the calling. So I thought that was pretty cool. The spark, which is that housing that you have to squeeze that has the vacuum cleaner hose in it, was used in an Academy Award-winning films, The Diving Bell and The Butterfly. And others are currently being used on things that are streaming on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and HBO. I haven't dug around to find them, but if you're interested, have at it. You can do it. So thanks for joining me today. You can reach me several ways. My website is www.cathykuhlmanphotography.com. Or if you're interested in just looking at my Lensbaby portfolio, you can link it from cathykuhlman.com, or you can go to cathyalicephotography.com and go in that way. As Linda said, on Instagram, I am Cathy Alice Photography. On Vero and Facebook, I am Cathy Alice. The QR code, if you want to clip that, that will take you to Lensbaby if you want to go shopping. And if you decide at some point that you are going to buy, my ambassador discount will get you 10% off most items. New releases generally are not eligible for the ambassador discounts, and sometimes sale prices are not eligible for the discount. If you're following me and there's a sale, I will usually tell you if you can add the ambassador code or not. If you're in doubt, try it. If they don't let you use it, then it's not available. That's what I tell everybody. If you're in doubt, just try it. You don't have anything to lose. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a minute.
Okay.
And there's just a couple of things that I want to show you really quickly. But now I have to, oh, there we go. This is what the Composer Pro 2 looks like. My optic is in there right now. So I'm going to show you, see how I know how much you're able to see it, but do you see how I'm bending that? So when that's on my camera, I can go up, down, I can go any which way I want, or I can hold it straight and use this bottom dial to lock it down, and then it won't move. Or you can lock it down at any angle so that it's not flopping all over. When you're popping these optics in and out, what you're going to do is rotate the optic to f22, where the little dot is on your lens. Then you're going to push in on the optic, give it a little turn, and the optic pops out. And there's an empty hole inside. This really does nothing. If you're changing apertures, you're changing it on the actual optic itself. So as you can see, like, oop.
A little too far. There you go.
Too close.
Too close.
There we go. So like, you're just going to rotate it around and change it that way. Just to show you a little bit about the optic swap system. Right now, I'm actually doing a giveaway for these. A lot of ambassadors have been doing it for 3 months. This is the last month, and at the end of September is the last. But if you're interested in winning one of these, you can go onto my Instagram at Cathy Alice Photography. You might have to go back a couple of days. There's a Lensbaby Ambassador giveaway logo on the front of the picture. You just have to follow me, follow Lensbaby, and comment on the picture, and you're entered. And then tomorrow night, I don't remember what time I picked, maybe 5 o'clock. My drawing ends, and then if you were to win, I would let you know. Lensbaby would mail you it directly. But what you're going to get is this ring. It's a 77 millimeter ring. Right now, I have a step ring on here because I tend to use this on my Velvet 56. So I have a 62 to 77 millimeter step ring. Step ring's not included in the giveaway. This little thing here is the yoke, and this is an arm. So you're going to get a yoke and an arm, and then you're going to get 2 different wands or films or crystals. So this is one of the crystals. Sometimes I can get it to pick up something, maybe not really here, but you might be able to see the color floating through that as I rotate it. But so there's the crystal that can attach. This is a quilted film, a little bit see-through. It's not solid. One of my favorites is a little rainbow one. This adds some really cool soft effects to it. The newest things are these bigger pieces. This is part of the universal. These are a pretty thick plastic. And if you can see this one has a blue tint to it. It's actually a blue film on the front of it. The film peels off, but I leave the films on for as long as I can because I kind of like the blue color. I have one of these that's just full of holes. That's what created the bokeh for me in my one landscape where I had a very boring sky. So I just held this at the very top of my my lens, kind of like this, and let that sun come in, and it created the bokeh. But you know, when you're shooting, here, let's try it like this. We'll go with the big girl. Like, I tend to hand hold and I go, you know, I'll wind it around and do this. You can use the ring though, and you can move it around if that works for you. When you're hand holding, so you're holding your camera now with one hand and you're typically doing it with your other, which gets to be, you know, a little bit more difficult unless you're on a tripod. I tend not to shoot on a tripod unless I'm doing like a long exposure. I just feel like it limits my photography and my angles and what I want to do with it. So that's about all I have for you guys right now. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Deborah wants to know, do you know if Lensbaby will be making lenses with a mount for the mirrorless Canon cameras? Do you have any intel?
Yes, yes, they do. I'm pretty sure that they do make them for Canon mirrorless. Yes. Are you looking for a specific lens, or I don't know who asked the question.
That's okay. Deborah did. So yeah,
yes,
so they do. So she
yeah.
can, I think maybe can reach
Yeah,
out.
they Nikon, Canon, Sony, and Fuji for sure. Some of the lenses, such as like the Sol 40 or the Sol 22, like that's the Micro Four Thirds. I think that one's it.
An OM.
I'm not saying no. Because
yeah.
I shoot Nikon, so I kind of lose track. I have to look it up when I'm talking about other lenses.
Okay.
So I can find out.
Yeah. So Deborah, if you get a chance, just reach out to Cathy directly, and that
would be wonderful.
Get a short change and get you some direct information. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to close out this session. But first, I want to say thank you for doing this. All right, Donna snuck one in here. Let me ask it. Was it the Sol 45 or the Burnside that was discontinued? I believe it was the Burnside.
Burnside has been discontinued, yes. But if you look around, you can still get it.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. With that, I'm not seeing any other questions in here. Cathy, this was like Lensbaby 101. And I have several of the lenses. And so I there was a takeaway for me on several of them going, oh, I hadn't thought about doing that. And I would have never, ever considered shooting sports with them. So that may make going to these baseball games a little bit more interesting for me.
Well, you know, like the one thing that you're going to consider though is she was probably right on the ice with that. You know, because you're not shooting with anything really longer than an 85 millimeters. So you kind of have to be a little bit close for that, unless you know what you're looking for is the wide angle. But I never want to limit anybody. I don't want to tell you it can't be done. I'm going to say try it.
Creative. So, well, thank you for doing this. This was a lot of like information, and I know you didn't throw this together. You put some time into getting it nice and organized and categorized for us. And it was really helpful. So I'm hoping that a few people went, huh? I hadn't thought about a Lensbaby. So I hope that you made them think about it.
Yeah.
So,
and please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here. That's what I'm here for. You know, if you want to know what's going to work best for you, we can have a chat about what you like, and I can point you in the direction once I know a little bit more about how much you know and understand.
Perfect.
So,
All right. Again, if you're on Instagram, you can find her at Cathy Alice Photography, and you can connect with her through her website, which is a link tree /Cathy Alice Photography. And I will link those to the show notes here for the video. Next week, please join us for Behind the Shot. Show us your summer. You're invited to submit a photo that you made this summer and share the behind the scenes story. If you'd like to participate, send in your photo to me by October 1st at info@lindanickell.com and join us next week. But until next time, go out and create something beautiful, and I hope that we see you again.